Kapow! Hello and welcome to Stanchion Snacks, a bit of a mouthful, the cooking show where I create a dish that represents a footballer from both Southampton and our weekly opponents, but also anything that's interesting from the location of our opponents. Now this week we are away at Bristol City. What's interesting about Bristol? Well, a little known fact is that the chocolate bar was invented in Bristol. So which player that's played for both Southampton and Bristol City are we going to be appreciating today? Well, there can be only one. The man that once kept us up on the last day of the season with 2 goals and a red card.
Idiakis to John. Saganovsky. Oh, Stanchion! Yes! Stanchion puts Southampton ahead for the first time. 8 minutes of the second half gone. It was awkward to control. Dropping over his shoulder. Moment to steady himself, then bang! John will get the obligatory booking for removing his shirt, but is he bothered? Idiakis. Viafara. Here's John. Smart turn. It's 3-2, and it's Stanchion again. And Sheffield United were level for just 3 minutes. Stanchion's 19th goal of the season. John can't keep it. Ooh, and John has brought down Geary. He's already had a card. Southampton down to 10 men with 5 minutes remaining. It's preserved. Southampton have beaten Sheffield United and beaten the drop.
So we're going to be creating a chocolate bar for Stanchion. Now, one of my favourite chocolate bars, which is also made by Fry's, who invented the first ever chocolate bar, is a peppermint cream. So we are going to be creating a sort of version on that. Now, Stanchion is of course from the Caribbean, famous for, of course, rum punch. So first things first, I'm going to make myself a little drink because we're basically going to be creating a rum punch chocolate bar. So first of all, well, what is rum punch? Those of you that haven't been to the Caribbean, let me show you pretty much what one is. And I'm going to make this like a chef makes a drink, really. So we'll start with a load of ice and we'll weigh the ingredients. We'll make this really sort of precise. So the first thing we need is my good old friend Ray, 25 millilitres or grams. It's all the same thing. Same amount of cranberry juice. So again, so we're going to make this up to 50, that's bang on 50. And then 4 times the amount of pineapple juice, 150 grams. Is that right? Yes. There it is. And then a nice fresh squeeze of lime. Give it a little stir. Oh yes. Get me to the beach, here we go. So cheers everyone, we're starting with a drink. And what a drink. A beautiful rum punch. So this is going to be a very interesting episode. It is a slightly technical episode and I'm doing it with a drinking side me, but hey, I wouldn't be much of a chef if I couldn't, would I? The first thing we're going to actually do is create the filling, and that's very, very simple. So we're going to start with, that's quite lethal actually, 100 grams of icing sugar. And to this, if we were making a traditional peppermint cream, or if you want to make anything, you're basically now going to add a tablespoon of liquid to this. So we are going to create a tablespoon of rum punch without the rum. And I'm just going to put a little bit of zest of lime. And then we're going to start with just a little squeeze of lime. I think 2 grams. So we're looking for 14 grams in total. That's a tablespoon. Off the top of my head, I think maybe 10 grams of pineapple, 2 of lime, 2 of cranberry will be about right. Okay, we want to make this up to 14. 11. 16. Okay, we won't put it all in. And actually, the other thing I'm going to put in at this point is just a little hit of red food colouring. Here's we're basically just going to whisk this together. Where's my whisk? There he is. Gosh, I do love rum punch, but I'm normally on the beach when I'm drinking it. So we'll put pretty much all of that in. And you know what? This might be one of those jobs that actually a whisk isn't the right job, because look, it's all just got stuck on the inside. Don't make this mistake I've made and use a whisk. Use a Maurice. At this point we can taste it. Wow. That's great. That actually tastes like pineapple and cranberry and lime. I was a bit worried that we would have to get out the old artificial flavourings for this. So a Maurice, something else, and now just smash the fuck out of it basically. So look, there we go. We have our our filling, which already kind of looks a bit like the middle of a peppermint cream. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm actually going to portion this out. So trays, I've got this silicone bar tray. I got this from the range. I literally just sort of walked around a few shops and this is what I found. I didn't really have a chocolate bar mold of some description. The fact that it's made of silicone will work in our favour for some things, but it's not necessary. So you can make these any shape you want. If you've got more time than me, I literally decided I was going to make this and I needed to make it today. So I didn't have time to wait for something to come off the internet. But obviously lots of stuff on the internet. It doesn't necessarily have to be silicone as long as you do your chocolate properly. But, you know, this is just an ice cube tray. You could use anything you like, whatever you can find. And we will weigh this into 5. That's bang on. A little bit small. It doesn't really matter the shape of these because we're going to take them back out basically. But for now, this is more just a way of portioning them, keeping them portioned. So this will all make a lot more sense in a moment, and you'll notice why I'm doing this. Tastes great. So there we have our middles, and I'm just going to stick them in the freezer. They won't fully freeze, but the fridge would be fine, but I'm just going to put them into the freezer and we're going to make the chocolate. Oh. Is 25 millilitres of Grand Nephews a lot? Can I drive after drinking this? Feels like I'm drinking a drink, that's for sure. The other thing we are going to attempt to do now, and do not get scared when I mention these 2 words, or one of these words particularly, because all that we've got left to do to create our chocolate bar is we are going to temper chocolate. Ah! Don't be too scared, don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. So this chocolate, any chocolate that you buy, is pretty much tempered already, but the problem is when you melt it, you destroy the temper. So what we're basically going to do is melt it and then re-temper it. It's all about temperatures. Give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. There's lots of other uses for melted chocolate. I'm going to show you now my favourite method to temper chocolate, and the only one that I really think you can do at home, which is the seeding method. The tabling method, you need a great big sort of piece of marble, which I do personally have a great big piece of marble, but I doubt you all do at home. And the first thing we're going to start by doing is we are going to get 100 grams of chocolate and chop it up very, very fine. Very important that it's fine. This doesn't really use any equipment. The only thing that you really need is a gun or a thermometer. That's cool. Zap. This is an infrared one, but you can use any kind of thermometer. As long as you've got a thermometer, this doesn't use any special equipment. So stop being a little scaredy cat and join me over there. We're going to temper some chocolate. So using a nice sharp knife, we're almost shaving it. And this is much easier if you go corner to corner. So you can move it around a bit and keeping the knife, the tip of the knife on the board. And we're just shaving all of this chocolate. Now, some of this needs to be very, very fine, but not all of it. So you don't have to be super consistent, but you do have to try and get as many shavings as possible. See how this is lovely and fine? That's going to make your life a lot easier later on. You can also grate it if you're not super confident with a knife. So we're going to take 2/3 of this. So this is 100 grams. So we want 60 grams of this, and we're going to melt. And if you have any big bits, so you can pick through here now if you haven't been super consistent, you want these to be in this first 60 grams. And it helps if you put the scales on first. So 2/3 in the bowl, 1/3 separate. These are your seeds. This is what we mean when we say the seeding method. These are going to be the seeds. So we're basically going to melt this chocolate to 45 degrees. We're going to add this to it, small amount of water in a pan. The bowl goes on the top, and we're going to take this, we're going to melt this chocolate now to 45 degrees. So you want to keep the thermometer on it. You were well off. And you can stir this. So this is now about 45 degrees. It's nice and it's smooth. So we're going to now pull this off, and we're going to add the rest of the chocolate. So you can add this a little bit at a time. It doesn't all have to go in straight away. But you want that still to be unmelted chocolate when it's under 34 degrees. So we're about there now, so that's actually quite good. So now we just want to mix this in quite vigorously. Yep. So as soon as it's under 34, there's no risk that we're going to destroy the better crystals, which is what we want. And if it gets really cold, then you can just move it back on just above the water just for a second. But basically now we want this. This will go down, this can go down to about 27, but we want this to work at about 32. So what we're basically doing is heating it up, cooling it down, heating it back up again. So just by beating that, we've now melted all the chocolate in, and now it's essential we don't go over 34 degrees. But we want to warm it back up to maybe about 32, which I think I'm probably close to, and that's our working temp. So look, 31. So I might risk it, put another degree in, you know, just 5 seconds at a time over the bowl. And then fill your moulds up about halfway, and then give it a good tap on the table, which will make it nice and even. And then take the fillings back out, put them on top, press them down a little bit, put some more chocolate onto the top, and then just sort of smooth that over. This is a little crank handle palette knife, another little tap on the table, and then pop it into the fridge to set. Right, so it's time to turn these out. I'm a little bit nervous, we'll see how we get on, but they look okay. Now, if you didn't have a silicone mould, you just need to wait for your chocolate to get to about 14 degrees. When it gets to 14 degrees, it shrinks, and that means it will just sort of fall out of any mould. But let's pop these out. Okay. They kind of look like Twixes, which is a little bit cool. So there we go. You know what? I'm pretty happy with that. There we go. My first sweet treat of the series. Let's give it a taste. Kapow! Look at that. You know what? I'm pretty happy with the ratio in the middle there. It's not running out, sort of thing, so we've got a good consistency. Right, let's give them a go. That's a good snap, doesn't break the shape. That's absolutely delicious. It's almost a little bit like a Quality Street, a Strawberry Dream or whatever they are. That is absolutely delicious. He's pulled it off again. I was worried about this one. It's a long time since I've done any pastry. I've never really done any real pastry. I ran a pastry section that won 2 rosettes, so I have done some pastry, but big up to my my friend George Wilson. for his knowledge, his advice here. But that is absolutely delicious. I'm going to whop the whole thing down. Now, I am going to the Bristol City game, so I will attempt to make some of these before I come up to Bristol. So if you see me at the game, I might have some of these on me. Who knows? Like and subscribe. Up the Saints. See you later.